I'm fine. Don't push me. Fucking slaves! There's too many fucking slaves!
They have to pay this bastard.
So there's currently a viral video going around of a Sikh restaurant owner in the United Kingdom being arrested after a controversy emerged when he put up a sign proudly proclaiming that his restaurant does not in fact serve halal food, which of course led to a series of death threats and vandalism at his particular place of business from Muslims who were offended by the fact that he, somebody who's not even of any Abrahamic faith and thus beneath them, would dare defy their religion and not serve the kind of food that they want to eat and actually serve food in accordance with his own faith. Now, I do want to give a correction right off the top of this particular video because it appears that this guy was actually not arrested for any kind of Islamophobic hate crime. He was actually arrested for being in possession of a knife, which is illegal in London. However, considering he was under consistent death threats from Muslims and he had the knife on him as a restaurateur and again as somebody who's trying to defend himself potentially from those Islamic death threats, it would make sense that he would actually want to do so. But of course, the law was powerless to stop the people that were targeting him for his religion and his faith, but they were right there on the scene at the moment where they could make an arrest of him. And this is one of the more embarrassing episodes in the United Kingdom. Now, of course, there is a lengthy segment that will be linked in the description of this video that goes over this entire fiasco from start to finish. I will play clips of that throughout the course of this video so you can understand where this person is coming from and of course the overall climate in London, as you have an Islamic mayor, Sadiq Khan, who is in full denial of the crimes of Muslims in that particular city, as again, the crimes of Muslims are not to be punished, they are to be rewarded, and that's exactly what we're seeing in the UK today. But before we get into that, I want to thank everybody who supports my Sikh restaurant over on actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
I just finished an interview with Harman Singh and his lovely wife. It's all about this sign. Apparently this sign is so controversial in modern Britain that they have had their lives absolutely destroyed because of a laminated sheet of A4 paper.
We are losing business, but that's not the problem. But the thing is, we are not going to lose our country to these people.
So look, I got a lot of love for these guys who came to the United Kingdom because they wanted to be in a freer, more open society and actually feel that the United Kingdom is their country and something worth defending, because it's a great change of pace from what we're often seeing from migrants in Western countries where they absolutely hate the country that they're in. They want to leech off the system as much as possible while simultaneously trying to make their new host country like the country that they fled, the third world hellhole that they fled. So again, this is rather refreshing, if not a little bit funny, to hear this guy talking about defending Britain and defending British values. But the thing is, this should not be surprising to anyone at all whatsoever. Part of the reason why this Sikh individual is in fact in the United Kingdom is because he fled, according to him, the very same types of people that they're now letting in droves in the UK, which of course is these Islamic theocrats who again feel that their faith is in fact supreme and should rule over absolutely everyone.
And I'll tell you one thing, a lot of people say I took asylum in this country and why I'm against asylum seekers, other immigrants, not immigrants, like asylum seekers. Why? The reason is the people I ran from, the danger, the people who want to kill me, rape my family, they are coming now. That's why I'm against them. That's the difference.
And when we come to airport, we surrender our passports. We come with a family, and there's only men's coming.
Now, when we take a step back and look at this story, essentially what happened, according to this shop owner, is that he opened this restaurant in this particular area. As the area had become more Islamicized, you ended up in a situation where a bunch of different patrons were showing up to said restaurant, demanding that this restaurant actually serve halal meat, which is something that he was unwilling to do. So he ended up getting a lot of pushback from the Islamic community, a lot of threats, and a lot of problems from them, as they felt they were disrespected because they weren't being catered to, which by the way is something that we see very often from Muslim populations, especially when they arrive in the Western world.
Starmer provides 40 million pounds for the mosque security, and same people are attacking my shop because I don't want to sell halal. Where is my security for me? Where is 400 pounds from me. Where is the police officer guarding me? There is none. Why?
Actually,
because
I tell you.
I am not harmed.
I tell you what, Keir Starmer is a real racist.
And again, it's not just in the United Kingdom. There's a school in Calgary that's getting a lot of fire from people because they decided in honor of Ramadan that they're going to ban every student from eating lunch in the cafeteria because you have to respect Islamic beliefs, even again, when it goes well beyond respect and you're actually enforcing it on your broader population, which is absurd and ridiculous. If Muslims want to fast for their holiday, that's on them. That's something for them to consider, but I don't remember at any point in time growing up in a large population of Chinese people neighborhood having to have a celebration for Lunar New Year and actually being banned from celebrating the actual New Year as is acknowledged by the Western world. But again, when it's Muslims, it's different. You must comply with them. And this guy absolutely refused to do so because according to him, he ended up having to flee Islamic violence back in India. And this is why he's in the United Kingdom in the first place. Then he decided that he was going to go with a bigger act of defiance. He actually decided that he was going to put a laminated sign in his window that says, "We proudly do not serve halal food at this establishment." And of course, this led to a lot of Muslims getting even more angry.
Like today, I had received the call. They said, "We are calling from grooming gang."
Like a groupie gang. What is like?
Openly said.
Which Sadiq Khan claims don't operate.
No. So this is their belief to marry 9 years old. So for them, it's their belief. For them, grooming gang is nothing new. It's their belief. So I cannot challenge their belief. That's why Sadiq Khan says, I don't know what grooming gang is because that's a part of their life.
Now look, while there definitely 100% is for a fact a lot of instances of Muslim threats and Muslim violence and Muslim vandalism at this particular location, and in fact, there are documented instances of all of the above, including them throwing eggs at his windows and doing all sorts of crazy things to this guy's restaurant. But I gotta be perfectly honest with you guys out there in the audience, that particular phone call, that message left on the machine that they played for us in this segment does not sound like an actual Muslim person that's actually threatening them with a grooming gang.
Mother, don't do this, okay? I'm gonna come now, Mr. Singh. I'm gonna take your turban and take it down the toilet. Mother, Mr. Singh, I get your daughter. I do a grooming gang on her, mother. I get me and Abdul. We take it to Pakistan.
Look, it's possible that I'm wrong. It's possible that these people are just this brazen. But to me, that sounds like somebody putting on an accent, doing a prank call in response to this guy getting a lot of real backlash from Muslims and making that prank call super over the top in that, again, the accent sounds incredibly fake. And he's saying that we know about the grooming gangs. We're going to put your daughter in grooming gang because we are Muslim person. Therefore, we are bad people. So in that particular instance, if I were producing this particular segment, I would probably not play that phone call for the general public. That being said, there have been other threats. There have been threats of violence. There's been threats of sexual violence and all sorts of other things that these people have had to deal with, including having their personal phone numbers posted online and, of course, having people dox their address and all sorts of other things just based on the fact that these guys are Sikh and they refuse to actually comply with Islamic dogma. And again, they make this clear throughout the whole course of this segment.
In recent days, eggs have reportedly been thrown at the premises. His personal phone number has been circulated online, and he's been subject to a torrent of abuse. His daughter stalked, as well as threats towards his wife and children. Harmond and his wife Kush kindly spoke to us on the night of the attacks. What did happen?
Today?
Yeah.
Today I received some calls. I don't know where they get my private number because my number, no one have it. Only my family and some close people. Someone leaked my number. They called me. First they sent me the message, my house address, my kid's date of birth. My date of birth, my husband's date of birth.
Hey guys, Editing Sean here, and I just want to remind you all to keep an open mind on this particular story, because although the headline of Muslims be Musliming is rather enticing for us in this particular audience, the fact is there could be parts of this story that are manufactured and or exaggerated in order to generate more attention. And a perfect example of something that I just don't believe is real is that phone call they played in the opening of the segment where you have the person saying, "We are grooming gang. We take your daughter to Pakistan because that's what we Muslims, the grooming gang, do." I don't believe that's a real phone call. I gotta be perfectly honest. And although there are certain things like the eggs being thrown and other acts of vandalism and other issues that this business owner has faced in the past, some of these claims, I don't know. I'm just telling you, I'm a little bit suspicious. They seem like allegations, if you ask me.
False allegations and not facts.
And people also on the other side are trying to say that this was a hate crime, this little laminated piece of paper.
Now, to make matters worse, the way that this has been covered by the British press in certain outlets is as if them posting that they don't serve halal meat, which, by the way, restaurants that serve halal meat have signs in their windows that indicate that they do, is actually a hate crime. That little paper that's laminated, that's stuck to the window, is actually a crime against Muslims, because we all know that Muslims are allowed to kill you, they're allowed to assault your children, groom them, do whatever they want, and that's no big deal. That's a cultural difference. But as soon as you hurt a Muslim person's feelings in the United Kingdom, that violates their blasphemy laws, which, by the way, right now at this moment, the UK is working on an even more strengthened Islamophobia law, which again will restrict the population of Britain's ability to speak out against this threat in their nation even further than it already is. And when I say even further than it already is, I want you guys to understand that there was an incident where a guy burned a Quran in protest. A Turkish national came out with the knife, started stabbing that person up, and the guy who burned the Quran was convicted for inciting racial hatred, and they used as evidence against him at his trial the Muslim guy who tried to do an attempted murder. Now, I believe that was eventually overturned via an appeal, but based on the original sentences of both people, the guy who burned the Quran was going to serve more time in jail than the Turk who actually stabbed him up, who tried to commit attempted murder, based on the fact that he had speech that he didn't like. So the UK already far gone, and we're not surprised when we hear stories like that this guy, when he called the police, ended up being treated like the criminal rather than the victim, even though, again, he was the one who had his business vandalized, he was the one experiencing threats, his family was the people that were being targeted. But again, the UK has fully bent the knee to Islam. Now again, while I want to emphasize it is in fact fake news or bad reporting that this guy was arrested based on the sign or anything of the sort, he was in fact arrested for illegally carrying a knife. But the fact is, if you're in a country where you're under threat by religious supremacists that are being protected beyond all reasonable means by the police, by the government, and you decide because you're not going to be helped by the police that you need to defend yourself, for them to then suddenly show up and arrest you when you decide to defend yourself, that's an actual problem. And it's understandable why he broke the knife law, especially since, again, he ends up owning a restaurant, so who knows if he was brandishing the knife in his own kitchen at his restaurant, and that's why the UK police ended up arresting him. You can understand why he was pushed to that point, why he felt the need to arm himself, because guess what? Muslim knife attacks are incredibly common in the United Kingdom, and they don't seem to ever be held accountable by the knife control laws that Sadiq Khan keeps advocating for, because again, Sadiq Khan's entire goal was to pretend to be a super left-wing progressive, but as soon as he got into office, he ran defense for the most heinous of Islamic crimes, because again, they're all about protecting Islam.
Will that sign stay up?
As long as even I die, they kill me, my kids promise me, Dad, will keep that sign there.
So yeah, while I appreciate these individuals and the fact that they want to stand up to the Muslim hordes that have invaded the United Kingdom, and they actually believe in the UK values, which is why they immigrated to the United Kingdom, I think it would be best if they actually left London, because as somebody who visited London and realized how Islamicized that it actually is, I think that place is already too far gone. And if you're a Sikh person, if you're not even of the Abrahamic faith, then you don't have the option, when they actually impose Islamic law, to live as a second-class citizen, as a dhimmi, because again, you're not covered under the categories because you're considered less than the dhimmi. Now, with all that being said, I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show by leaving a like, subscribe for more content. You can follow me on the social medias. You can support me via the support links. They are linked in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the Sikh business owner being targeted and harassed by Islamic supremacists in the United Kingdom, and the UK police siding with the Muslims rather than the actual victims of the crime. Till next time.